Day 34, the quote that I have today, it says, "We fight too many battles that don't matter. If the battle isn't between you and the path God has for you, then it's a distraction." So we fight too many battles that don't matter. What does that mean? There's some scripture actually just popped in my mind, but talking about like living a life for Jesus, like your yoke should be easy, your burden should be light. But so often we have a tendency to like overcomplicate things. And like, how do we overcomplicate things? Well, we're worried about decisions that other people are making, or we're trying to control other people. There's, trying to gain approval from others and worrying about your status, worrying about power, just all the distraction that we allow into our lives and things that give us immediate gratification that can lead us down roads that have pitfalls, and there's turbulence that comes alongside of that. And we just live in all of these ways that life can certainly not feel like our burden is easy and light. The more that we live for ourselves and not for God, and not, shining the light of God to others, we'll find ourselves eventually, even if you don't notice it right now, like eventually you'll find yourself feeling like every day you're just putting out so many fires, and hopefully one day we'll wake up and realize, like, why am I putting myself in these positions? Why do I feel like I'm firefighting with all of these things? So I think it's just good, again, like awareness and intentionality, like these words that I use pretty often. I think it's good to just slow down. I always say, look yourself in the mirror and have that conversation of like, what battles does it feel like I'm fighting right now? And then truly like Venn diagram it if you have to, but like, how many of these are truly important between like me and like what God has called for me? Or how many of these are like because of earthly issues or earthly ambition that really, when you take that step back and you look at it, it really shouldn't even matter. Like, I shouldn't even be fighting these battles. Like, all this stuff's connected when you talk about hurry, sickness, and lack of intention, and all of these kind of themes that we talk about. It's all connected. I mean, we often get wrapped up in so many battles and so many like knee-jerk reactions to things, like humanistic reactions to all of these circumstances that go in our lives. And I just wonder if we really take that step back and say, like, man, I'm fighting so many battles that really don't matter. I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to know I have an audience of one. I'm going to know that God is for me, and I'm going to be in tune with that daily. It's going to change the confidence that you have in yourself. It's going to change the way you treat people. It's going to probably reprioritize even what you choose to do in that day, to do things that take care of your family, your body, and others. What I pray to God, and for really, really often, I've tried to change this over the past year, is like talking about like when I wake up tomorrow and just doing the things that God has for me and having confidence in that. I ask God, I'm like, God, please help me to please help me to be confident in who I am because of who you are. Like, that's important. Help me to be confident in who I am because of who you are. So again, kind of similar theme to this in scripture today that I have is Colossians chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. And it says, "Since then you have been raised with Christ. Set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above, not on earthly things." And it goes on in verse 3 to say, "For you died, and your life is now hidden with Christ in God." So what's that mean, talking about setting your mind on things above and setting your heart on things above? It's just striving to put heaven's priorities, and again, that plan that God has for us in our lives to live optimally for him. Not that we're going to be perfect. Again, we're all so human, and that's what grace and mercy and repenting is for. But just that daily pursuit of setting our minds on things above and concentrating on the eternal rather than the temporary or the temporal. Because when we're wrapped up in all these materialistic or temporary things, our perspective can be lost. And that's when, again, that burden just starts to set in. Like, we're carrying these burdens of things that are so temporary in this life. So that perspective really will change this life for the better, because I think it will allow us to have better perspective when we experience the good and the bad, but it's also going to set us up and those we love up for so much more success and just joy in this life and beyond. So again, just in closing, we fight too many battles that don't matter. If the battle isn't between you and the path that God has for you, then it's a distraction. How do we just marinate on that a little bit this week in our lives? Look ourselves in the mirror and just ask that question. What are we holding right now? What are we battling